your presentation and the answers. As a next finalist, I'm now welcoming Dylan Nelson. He is a Eminöter group leader at the Institute for Theoretical Astrophysics at Heidelberg University in Germany. His research focuses on theoretical and computational models of galaxy formation and evolution. Besides that, he's a leader of the illustrious TNG project, an ongoing series of astrophysical simulations developed and run by an international team to explore galaxy formation processes. Today, he will introduce us to Virtual Universes, an open research environment for astrophysics, combining large-scale in-simulation models, analysis tools, and reproducible workflows. Dylan, please.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Oops. Find a presentation. And hide that. So I hope everyone can see me.
Yes.
And hear me okay. Yeah, thank you very much for the kind introduction. For a slight change of pace, to say the least. What you're seeing right now is, I think, one of the most famous pictures from observational astronomy. That's the Hubble Ultra Deep Field. So depending on the lights in the room, all those thousands of little smudges of light you see are galaxies in the distant universe. But there's one wrinkle here, which is that this image is actually split exactly vertically down the middle. And while one half is real, one half is fake. So one half is a mock or a synthetic image generated from a computer simulation of our universe. And so I'm excited to tell you today about our efforts, indeed, to simulate the universe on supercomputers and our project proposal, Virtual Universes. So in astronomy, we're asking some of the big, really big questions. What is our universe made of, and how does it evolve? And our best answer here is called lambda CDM. This is our standard model for the structure of the universe. And what this tells us is this nice pie chart, which is that the mass energy density of the universe is about 70% lambda, that's dark energy, whatever that may be. And it's about 25% cold dark matter, that's the green, whatever dark matter may be. And all of normal matter has to fit in this remaining 5% of the pie chart. And this also gives us a good idea how the universe evolves over time, which I show you schematically on the right, all the way from inflation in the early universe on the left to the formation of the first stars, galaxies, and planets, and all the structure that we see in the universe today. And as I'll tell you in the next few minutes, what we can do recently is to put our knowledge of physics on the computer and run numerical simulations to compute this problem of how structure forms in the universe across its 14 billion years of age. So when we do that, we create what I like to call universes in a box. And I'm showing you an example of that here. What you see is what we call a cosmic web. These are filaments and voids. And from left to right, this box is about 100 million light years across. We've shifted our view to look at the gas temperature. Cool is blue, that's 10,000 degrees for us. Orange and red is hot, that's 10 million degrees. And these bubbles you see are actually residing at the intersection of these filaments, which is where galaxies form. And if you zoom into this calculation a lot, by a factor of about 10,000, so into a single pixel in this visualization, this is what you see. These are simulated galaxies. This is the light which would be emitted from stars, as could be observed with the James Webb Space Telescope, for example. And you see a whole zoo, the diversity of galaxies and shapes and sizes and colors and states, just as we observe in the real universe. In these calculations, we don't simulate just one or a few galaxies, but really thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of galaxies, and they co-evolve within a single calculation. These simulations are called cosmological hydrodynamical simulations, and the state of the art in this field is illustrious TNG. I'm showing you kind of the family picture of this project in the middle. It's made of these three simulations of increasing size. And here we're simultaneously solving for the evolution of cold dark matter, of gas, of stars, of supermassive black holes, and magnetic fields, all in the expanding space-time. But we're not the only game in town. This is a diverse community. In fact, there's many large groups making these large numerical models. I'm showing you the names of some of these simulation projects on the right. They have cool names like Magneticum, Eagle, Horizon AGN. And in orange, and in fact, with all the images, I'm highlighting those which are actually public, which are publicly available, which you can go and download and do science with. And indeed, when I give a science talk, I always like to show a slide like this, which is to say, everything I just showed you is from a publicly available simulation. So go look at the website, look at the data, and think, can this data be useful for you and your science? And indeed, over the past 10 years, we've built a data platform which lets researchers explore, search, visualize, and effectively get data. This includes a Google Maps-like viewer. You can zoom around the simulations and contrast different fields. You can interactively explore what we call merger trees. This is the time assembly of galaxies. In the browser, interactively, you can explore in 3D space how different objects are related to each other, including the gas. Then you can get serious. You can search, right? You can search for galaxies or structures of interest. And then you can look at plots. You can make plots on the fly and study relationships and correlations between properties. It may sound a bit boring, but when you can plot any quantity against any other quantity and colored by any third quantity, this becomes a very powerful exploration tool. You can also visualize galaxies, so you can make a picture. This is a spiral disk galaxy. You see spiral arms, and the color actually shows you molecular hydrogen, which can be observed in real galaxies. And this is not just a picture, because you can download the data, the numbers behind this picture, and do science. We've also recently developed this idea we call TNG Jupyter Lab, which exemplifies this concept of bringing your code to where the data lives. And this is what the interface looks like. You recognize it if you've worked with Python in the past. On the left, you see the raw simulation data. This is 1 petabyte of data directly accessible. And in the middle and on the right, you see a user working on code and developing their analysis in the browser. But when they push run, when they push execute, it runs on the supercomputer remotely where the data actually lives. So bring your code to the data. This effort has had a lot of impact. And I show you just a timeline here over the past 10 years, going back to 2015 in our first data release effort. This cyan line shows the number of registered users of this service. It's nearly 10,000 now. In astronomy and astrophysics, we are a small community, and this is a sizable fraction. The red bouncy line shows you the number of active users over the past month period, and this is 500 to 600 people. And the blue line shows you the number of users of this lab service, 1,200 people who really like this idea of computing online. In purple at the top, you see the number of terabytes of data transferred. That's 35 petabytes of data. This is really in the big data regime. And probably most important, people use the data to do science. And more than 1,200 scientific papers have been published to date using these simulations and their public availability. This is why I really say that this is the field-leading example of open data and open science in theoretical astrophysics. So where do we stand? What are the open issues and open challenges? Currently, each large group does their own effort to release data. However, not all participate, and in fact, the majority do not. And as a result, the community is quite fragmented and essentially closed. But further, because the datasets are large, variable, and very private, this means comparisons and validations cross-model are hard and rare. We also have a big preservation issue that older data can and does disappear. Models also tend to evolve in time, but in very opaque ways. And this altogether means that teams without access to these large supercomputer resources, in fact, do not have access to these large state-of-the-art simulations and models. And this includes the general public and citizen scientists. We also have the issue that published science is not accompanied by published code, and general results are not reproducible. This also leads to large barriers to entry, again, for people outside of large teams because they're unable to build upon past work. So just to be clear, the situation slowly improves, but I think we're really at a key moment here where we have the opportunity to make a significant advance. And that brings us to virtual universes. So our goal is to design, to develop, and deploy a new online, publicly accessible, open, unified research environment and long-term data facility for open science. This science platform will enable high-quality, cross-team, and reproducible research with virtual universes, or digital twins, if you prefer, in astrophysics and beyond. And the plan really has 2 parts. So first, we want to seek out and host to collect existing simulations into a common platform. This means rewriting data into common formats, reprocessing with common pipelines, enabling access with common techniques, enabling analysis with common tools. At the same time, we want to incentivize researchers to release not only data, but also the code behind the data. And this code will be hosted online. So public code will run on public data, both side by side on virtual universes. And this will enable a new concept of reproducible analysis workflows, which will guarantee transparency, integrity, and I think most interestingly, exploration and progress, because we really have the opportunity here to accelerate scientific insight. Actually, I want to conclude by drawing an analogy back to the water cycle on Earth. So on Earth, water from the oceans evaporates into the atmosphere, condenses in the clouds, precipitates out in the form of rain, and rejoins this cycle. And actually, we think something very similar happens for galaxies. So galaxies live at the centers of gaseous atmospheres we call the circumgalactic medium. Gas flows in, it forms stars. Stars explode as supernova. This drives galactic outflows into the atmosphere, which indeed forms complex cloud-like structures and can precipitate or condense back onto the galaxy. We call this the galactic baryon cycle. And some of the questions that we're asking are, in fact, what is galactic climate change? What does it mean? And how does the weather of galaxies shape their evolution? So in this spirit, virtual universes will be a proof of concept demonstration in astrophysics. But in the future, we dare to dream and not to think big, but actually think small and extend this science platform to Earth-scale models in computational climate, computational sociology, and computational epidemiology, among others. So let me wrap up. Numerical simulations are producing synthetic universes. These are enormous, large, publicly available data sets, and they're almost open-ended laboratories that could democratize science. But I think we currently are lacking the incentives for public data, public code, and especially the combination of the two. So therefore, we're proposing to develop a new science platform for these big data, large numerical models, providing common access and common tools, and hosting code and data side by side for reproducible workflows. Let me end by acknowledging my many collaborators over the years and happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. That was very fascinating and also very clear. And it's open now for questions.